When police smashed open the door of a tattoo shop on the edge of Las Vegas in 2015, they were not prepared for what they found. They expected a simple arrest. They thought they were gathering evidence for a small case. But what they discovered inside those walls, inside ink bottles, and even on the tattoo artist's skin, turned a routine raid into one of the darkest crime scenes in recent American history. 14 tattoos, 14 women, 14 lives reduced to nothing but ash and ink. And it all began nearly 20 years earlier, with a girl no one remembered. On August 26, 1996, 22-year-old Jessica Ray stopped at a small gas station outside Reno, Nevada. It was around 2 in the afternoon. She walked in, bought a bottle of water and a bag of chips, paid with loose change, and headed back toward the open highway. The cashier remembered her because she asked how far it was to the state line. He told her it was about a 2-hour drive if she got lucky and someone offered her a ride. Jessica nodded, said thank you, and walked back outside with her backpack. That was the last time anyone ever saw her alive. Jessica worked as a waitress at a small cafe in Sacramento, California. She lived in a shared apartment with 2 girls she barely knew. She was quiet and stayed to herself. She didn't have close friends. She didn't go out. She didn't make trouble. Her parents had divorced when she was 14. Her mother moved to Oregon and rarely called. Her father died from a heart attack a year after the divorce. Jessica grew up with her aunt in Fresno. After high school, she left and never came back. She spent 3 silent years in Sacramento, living simply, saving money, talking sometimes about moving somewhere east. She told coworkers she wanted to live near real mountains, not the soft hills of California, maybe Colorado or Utah. 4 days before she disappeared, Jessica didn't show up for work. The cafe manager called her apartment. No answer. Her roommate said Jessica had left early that morning with her backpack. She said she was going to visit a friend in Reno and might stay for a few days. No address. No phone number. That was it. The manager assumed she quit the job and hired someone else. A week went by. Jessica never returned. Her roommates finally called the police. But an adult woman who paid rent and walked out freely did not raise concern. The officer wrote it down and told them they could file a missing person report if she didn't reappear within a month. Jessica was indeed headed toward Reno. She had been talking to a man through newspaper ads for months. His name was Marcus. They had never met. He said he could help her get a job at the casino where he worked as a bartender. Jessica mentioned it once in passing to a neighbor while packing. She said if things went well, she might stay in Reno. The neighbor didn't remember Marcus's last name or even the casino name. When police tried to find him, they discovered over 100 bartenders named Marcus or Mark in Reno. Without more information, the trail ended before it even started. The gas station where Jessica was last seen was 80 kilometers from Reno on Highway 80. It was small, 2 pumps, a tiny shop, a bathroom. The owner, Walter, had run the place for 20 years. He saw plenty of travelers come and go. Young people with backpacks hitchhiking through Nevada, looking for work or a fresh start. Jessica was just one more. He didn't see which car she left in. He didn't even notice when she walked off the lot. There were no cameras there. All he remembered later when the police asked him, months later, was that it was a hot day around 38 degrees and there were a few cars in the lot. A truck. 2 cars, a van, nothing else he could recall. September passed. No calls, no sightings. Her roommates gathered what Jessica left behind and rented her room to someone else. No one else contacted the police. The missing case was never made official. Jessica Ray vanished. No family close by. No friends who would chase after her. Her name slowly sank into the endless pile of missing Americans. Unknown, unsearched, forgotten. Years went by. Nevada changed. Reno grew. The old gas station was sold, then demolished. A car wash took its place. Her former apartment got new owners. The cafe manager died of cancer. The man named Marcus, if he ever really existed, was gone without a trace. No one remembered Jessica. No one except one person. In March 2015, a call came into the Las Vegas police. A woman named Carol Mitchell said she had been held, against her will, for 2 days by her former partner, a tattoo artist named Damon Crow. She said he locked her inside his home and threatened to kill her if she tried to leave. Police came. They arrested Damon and charged him with assault and unlawful imprisonment. Damon was 47 years old. He ran his own tattoo shop on the first floor of a residential building. Neighbors said he was strange, quiet, kept to himself. The shop was open at random hours. Few people went in. No one talked much about him. No one knew what was inside that shop. They just knew it wasn't normal. Then the search began, and what the police found inside that dark tattoo parlor was unlike anything they had ever seen. The past was about to come back, and Jessica Ray was about to be pulled from the grave of memory. Carol told police that she had been dating Damon for about a year. They met at a bar. At first, he was charming, interesting, and attentive. But over time, he became controlling, angry, and unpredictable. Carol tried to end things, but Damon would not let her go. One night, she came to his apartment to collect her things. He locked the door and refused to let her leave. For 2 days, he kept her inside, shouting, threatening, making her feel trapped. Then suddenly, he let her go. He told her it was better for her to stay quiet. Scared and shaken, Carol immediately called the police. When officers arrived with a search warrant, they found the apartment in disarray. Dirty dishes piled in the sink. Empty bottles scattered across the counter. The small tattoo salon on the first floor looked ordinary at first. 2 chairs, a table with tools, a glass cabinet full of ink, a sterilizer. Everything seemed normal for a small private studio. But one thing caught the detective's attention immediately. The walls were covered with photographs of tattoos. Almost every tattoo was on Damon himself. Arms, shoulders, chest, back, even portraits of women's faces. Realistic portraits, each with a date written beneath. The dates ranged from 1994 to 2008. Something about them felt off. The detective photographed all the tattoos and asked Damon about the women in the pictures. Damon said they were just art, faces he had copied from magazines and transferred onto his skin. No real people, just designs. But the detective was suspicious. 14 portraits, 14 dates, all carefully marked. It seemed far too precise to be only art. Damon was released on bail 3 days later. Carol's case continued, but the tattoos haunted the detective's mind. He sent the photos to the crime lab, asking them to check if any matched missing person records. He could not ignore the possibility. 2 weeks later, the lab reported back. 3 faces were believed to match women who had disappeared in Nevada and California during the 1990s and early 2000s. Believed, because the tattoos were very accurate, yet no match could be confirmed with absolute certainty. That was enough to justify a new search warrant. In April 2015, police returned to Damon's apartment with a team of forensic experts. This time, they were not just looking for assault evidence. They were searching for anything that might link him to more serious crimes. The salon was sealed, and every tool, ink bottle, and sample of skin was taken for analysis. Damon was arrested again and brought to the station. At first, he denied everything. He said the police had made a mistake. It was a misunderstanding. But then forensic results from the ink bottles were shown to him. He froze. Inside one of the bottles, investigators found something unusual. Organic particles mixed with the ink. Human ashes, traces of dried blood. Not fresh blood, but old, mixed into pigment. Damon lowered his head. After a few minutes, he asked for a lawyer. The results were shocking. Over the next several weeks, forensic experts analyzed all 14 ink bottles seized from the salon. 8 contained the same impurities. Ash and blood mixed into tattoo ink. DNA was extracted from 7 of these bottles. 1 sample matched a record in the missing persons database. Jessica Ray, 22 years old, disappeared in Reno, Nevada in August 1996. The date beneath one of Damon's tattoos matched the day she vanished. When confronted with this evidence, Damon was silent. His lawyer told him to stay quiet, but he looked tired, worn out. It was as if the weight of what he had carried for years had become unbearable. He asked for a glass of water, drank it quickly, and finally began to speak. What Damon said over the next 6 hours shocked investigators. It changed everything they thought they knew about the case. Damon Crowe was born in Arizona in 1968. His father left when he was 5. His mother worked 2 jobs and was rarely home. Damon grew up withdrawn, spending his time alone drawing, making things from wood and metal. At school, he was considered odd but harmless, quiet, unnoticed. After high school, he moved to Las Vegas and became an apprentice at a tattoo parlor. A few years later, he opened his own studio. No one imagined the quiet man they knew could commit such horrors. Damon told investigators that Jessica was not his first victim. She was the third. He began in 1994, a year after opening his studio. He described the first incident. Late one night, he drove back from California, where he had collected tattoo equipment from an acquaintance. On the highway, he saw a girl hitchhiking. She raised her hand. He stopped. She got in and said she was headed to Las Vegas to look for work. Her name was Laura. She was 24. Damon hadn't planned anything. He just picked her up. They talked as he drove. But halfway through, something inside him shifted. He could not explain why. He realized he could act and no one would know. He turned off the highway onto a deserted dirt road. He told her it was a shortcut. She didn't protest. They drove 20 minutes into the desert. Damon stopped. He hit Laura on the head with a heavy flashlight from his glove box. She lost consciousness immediately. He strangled her with his hands. Then he dug a shallow grave with a folding shovel from his trunk. He buried her there in the empty desert, covering the grave with sand. Damon described the method calmly, almost mechanically, as if recalling a long-forgotten memory. No emotion, no regret, only cold facts. This confession revealed the pattern that would continue for years. He had chosen the road, the isolated place, the weapon. It was methodical. He had kept trophies, records, and most chillingly, inked their faces onto his own body, a permanent reminder of the lives he had taken. The dates beneath each portrait were the dates of the killings. The detective realized the tattoos were more than art. They were a timeline, a map of his crimes. Investigators listened in disbelief. Each new name Damon mentioned matched unsolved disappearances across Nevada and California. The precision, the dates, the locations, all aligned with cases long forgotten. Damon explained that the second victim had been similar. She had been hitchhiking along a lonely road. He had stopped, offered help, and then, like Laura, she became part of his secret collection. He described each murder with disturbing calm. The interviews stretched over hours. The detective struggled to keep up, taking notes, cross-referencing dates and locations. Every detail he gave added pieces to a puzzle frozen in time for nearly 2 decades. Damon Crowe, the quiet tattoo artist, had been hiding in plain sight. Every small detail mattered. By the time Damon finished his initial confession, investigators had a chilling realization. There were 14 victims in total. Each one was represented on his skin, each with the date of her death. The evidence in the ink bottles, the DNA matches, and the tattoos themselves formed a direct link to decades-old cold cases. The timeline started in 1994, ended in 2008. The pattern was clear. Damon had targeted women who were alone, vulnerable, often traveling or seeking work. His method never changed. The tattoos were his record, his signature. He had built a lifetime of crimes around what seemed like an ordinary life, an ordinary tattoo studio, and a quiet existence. Until Carol came forward, everything would have remained hidden. Her courage opened the door to the truth. From the moment Carol told the police about Damon, they knew something was off. She had been dating him for about a year. They met in a bar. At first, he was charming, interesting, attentive. But over time, he became controlling, angry, and unpredictable. Carol tried to break things off, but Damon refused. One night, she came to collect her belongings. He locked the door. He would not let her leave. For 2 days, she was trapped inside, threatened, shouted at, made to feel powerless. Then suddenly, he let her go. He warned her to stay quiet. Terrified, she went straight to the police. When officers arrived with a search warrant, Damon's apartment was messy, chaotic. Dirty dishes filled the sink. Empty bottles scattered across counters. On the first floor, the small tattoo salon looked ordinary. 2 chairs, a table with tattoo tools, a glass cabinet filled with ink, a sterilizer. Nothing unusual. But the detective immediately noticed something strange. The walls were covered with photographs of tattoos. Almost every tattoo was on Damon himself. Arms, shoulders, chest, back, and even portraits of women's faces. Realistic portraits, each marked with a date. The dates spanned from 1994 to 2008. Something about it was deeply unsettling. The detective photographed the tattoos and asked Damon about the women. Damon said it was just art. He copied the faces from magazines and transferred them onto his skin. No real people, he insisted. Only designs. But the detective was not convinced. 14 portraits, 14 dates, too precise to be merely artistic. Damon was released on bail 3 days later. Carol's case moved forward, but the tattoos haunted the detective. He sent the photos to the crime lab, requesting a comparison with missing person records. He could not ignore the possibility. 2 weeks later, the lab responded. 3 faces potentially matched women who had vanished in Nevada and California during the 1990s and early 2000s, potentially because tattoos are detailed but not perfect for identification. Still, it was enough to request a new search warrant. In April 2015, police returned with forensic experts. This time, they were not only looking for assault evidence, they wanted clues to more serious crimes. The salon was sealed. All tools, ink bottles, and skin samples were taken for analysis. Damon was arrested again. At first, he denied everything. He claimed the police were wrong, there was a misunderstanding. But when forensic results from the ink bottles were shown, he froze. Inside one bottle, investigators found something unusual. Organic particles in the ink, human ashes, dried blood, not fresh blood but old mixed with pigment. Damon lowered his head. Minutes later, he asked for a lawyer. Over the next several weeks, forensic experts analyzed all 14 ink bottles. 8 contained the same impurities, ash and blood mixed with tattoo ink. DNA was extracted from 7 bottles. 1 matched the missing persons database. Jessica Ray, 22 years old, disappeared in Reno in August 1996. 1 tattoo on Damon's shoulder bore the same date. Faced with this evidence, Damon remained silent. His lawyer instructed him to speak only minimally, but he looked exhausted, worn down. The burden he had carried for years seemed unbearable. He requested a glass of water, drank it in one gulp, and began to talk. What he revealed over 6 hours stunned investigators. It reshaped their understanding of the case. Damon Crowe was born in Arizona in 1968. His father left when he was 5. His mother worked 2 jobs and was rarely home. Damon grew up withdrawn, spending hours alone, drawing, crafting objects from wood and metal. In school, he was considered odd but harmless, quiet, easily overlooked. After high school, Damon moved to Las Vegas and became an apprentice at a tattoo parlor. A few years later, he opened his own studio. None of those who knew him could have imagined the horrors behind the quiet facade. Damon admitted that Jessica was not his first victim. She was the third. He began in 1994, 1 year after opening his studio. He described the first killing. Late one night, returning from California with tattoo supplies, he saw a girl hitchhiking. She raised her hand. He stopped. She entered his car and said she was headed to Las Vegas for work. Her name was Laura. She was 24. Damon had no plan. He just drove her. They talked. Then halfway through, something inside him changed. He realized he could act and no one would know. Damon turned off the highway onto a deserted dirt road. He claimed it was a shortcut. Laura didn't resist. They drove 20 minutes into the desert. Damon stopped. He hit her on the head with a heavy flashlight from his glove compartment. She lost consciousness immediately. Then he strangled her with his hands. He dug a shallow grave with a folding shovel from his trunk. He buried her there, covering the body with sand. Damon recounted each step calmly, mechanically, as if recalling a memory frozen in time. No emotion, no regret, only cold, precise details. The confession revealed a pattern that would continue for years. Damon chose isolated roads, deserted areas, and the same type of tools. He kept trophies, recorded his crimes, and most disturbingly, tattooed the victims' faces on himself. Each portrait marked the date of her death. The detective realized the tattoos were more than decoration. They were a timeline, a map of murders, a secret diary of his crimes. Investigators listened in disbelief. Each victim Damon named matched cold cases from Nevada and California. Dates, locations, details, all aligned perfectly. He explained that the second victim had been similar. Hitchhiking alone, offered help, then abducted. He described each murder in an unnerving calm. Interviews lasted hours. Detectives had to cross-reference dates, locations, and names. Every fact added another piece to a puzzle frozen for decades. Damon Crowe, the quiet tattoo artist, had hidden in plain sight. Every detail mattered. By the end of his initial confession, investigators knew the truth. 14 victims in total, each one marked on his skin. Dates beneath each portrait matching the day of her death. Ink bottles containing ash and blood confirmed the crimes. The timeline stretched from 1994 to 2008. Damon targeted women who were alone, vulnerable, traveling, or seeking work. His methods never changed. Tattoos were his record, his signature, a lifetime of murders masked by a normal-looking life, a small tattoo studio and a quiet existence. If Carol had not come forward, it might have never been discovered. Her courage had unlocked the hidden horror. First he buried them, then he returned a few weeks later when the bodies had decomposed enough and took the remains. Each time it became easier. Fear disappeared, disgust faded. It became a routine: murder, burial, exhumation, cremation, tattooing. The cycle repeated over and over. By 2008, 14 portraits covered his body. 14 women turned into ashes and ink. He could not explain why he needed to do this. Damon told investigators it was a way to preserve them, to keep them as part of him forever. Each face, each voice, every detail stayed alive. The tattoos were not just pictures. They were monuments. Investigators listened carefully. Psychiatrists present took notes. Damon spoke in a calm, even voice without emotion, as if describing a normal task. Sometimes he paused, asked for water, then continued. He described each victim, every place he had taken them. He named those he remembered: Laura, Teresa, Jessica, Martha, Christina, Ashley, Vanessa. The rest of the names were unknown. Either they had not introduced themselves or he forgot. But he remembered all their faces. The tattoo details matched perfectly. Investigators realized he was telling the truth. All 14 portraits were real people. 14 lives he had taken. When he finished, the room fell silent. The detective asked for the exact location of the oak tree where he buried the remains. Damon gave precise directions. From the highway, turn onto a dirt road near an old water tower. Drive 25 kilometers north, then turn right at a large rock shaped like a lying bear. The tree stands alone in a dry riverbed with no other trees for miles. Police organized a search expedition. In early May 2015, investigators, forensic experts, and body search specialists went to the site. Damon was brought along, handcuffed and escorted. He stayed silent in the car, looking out the window. When they arrived, he nodded. Yes, this was the place. The tree was old and massive. Its trunk thick, branches wide, roots deep. Small mounds and hollows surrounded its base. Forensic experts began work immediately. Ground-penetrating radar, metal detectors, shovels, all were used to scan the area. The radar revealed anomalies beneath the roots. They began digging. An hour later, the first remains appeared. Bones partially decomposed, mixed with soil and roots. Experts worked meticulously, sifting every centimeter. By the end of the day, fragments of 3 more bodies were recovered. The next day, they expanded the perimeter and dug deeper. More remains were found. Over the years, roots had grown through the bones and soil compression had fused them together. Separating them was painstaking. The excavation lasted a week. In the end, fragments from 14 skeletons were recovered. Some were nearly complete, others incomplete. Damon had not taken all the bones for cremation. Only skulls, ribs, and hand bones were removed. The rest stayed in the ground. Forensic scientists transported the remains to the lab for analysis. Identification began. DNA could only be extracted from 8 skeletons. The others were too degraded. Of the 8, 3 matched records in the missing persons database. Jessica Ray, Martha Simmons from Arizona, missing since 2002, and Christina Weber from California, missing since 2005. The remaining 5 had no matches. They may never have been reported missing, or their DNA never entered the system. Families of the identified victims were notified. For Jessica's mother, it was a call she never expected after nearly 20 years. She had long assumed her daughter was likely dead, but hope lingered. When the detective broke the news, she did not cry. She stayed silent for minutes, then asked one question. Did she suffer? The detective lied, saying her death had been quick. It was necessary. Martha Simmons' family reacted differently. Her brother flew to Las Vegas, demanded to see Damon, and shouted at the police that he wanted to look him in the eye. He was refused. Christina Weber's parents had searched for years, hired private investigators, and crossed half the state. When told her remains were found, her father said one word. Finally, Damon Crowe was charged with 14 counts of first-degree murder. The trial began in September 2015. The defense tried to claim he was insane, but psychiatric evaluation disproved this. Damon understood his actions fully, planned them deliberately, and knew the consequences. He was not mentally ill legally. He was a methodical, deliberate serial killer over 14 years, hiding in plain sight. Every murder carefully executed. Every victim chosen because she was alone, vulnerable, and traveling. Every crime recorded secretly on his body. Investigators and the public were stunned. A tattoo artist living a normal life had killed over a decade without detection, until a single victim's report exposed him. Each tattoo, each date, each detail connected directly to real women who had disappeared. The evidence in ink bottles, skeletal remains, and DNA matches formed a clear chain of proof. Damon had documented his crimes on his own skin. The psychological impact was immense. Investigators, forensic scientists, and family members struggled to understand how one person could commit so many murders undetected. How could someone appear ordinary while committing crimes with such precision? Damon's calm, emotionless recollection disturbed everyone, yet it revealed his method. Killing, burying, exhuming, cremating, and tattooing formed a ritual. It reflected a cold, calculated mind, completely detached from remorse. By the investigation's end, 14 women were confirmed victims. Each life stolen, each face immortalized on his skin. The discovery gave closure to families who had waited decades. The case showed the power of persistent investigation, courageous witnesses like Carol, and forensic science in revealing hidden truths. Damon's crimes, methodical and horrifying, became a landmark case in criminal history. From the first murder in 1994 to the last in 2008, Damon Crowe left a trail of death and remembrance. His tattoos, once thought art, were key to solving the mystery. The oak tree, remote and silent, held the secrets of 14 lives. In court, evidence, DNA, and witness testimony painted a chilling portrait. Damon Crowe, the quiet tattoo artist, had lived a double life for over a decade. Every detail mattered. Every fact counted. His conviction was inevitable, but the story of the women he killed would never be forgotten.